Hello and welcome to episode 8 of Missable Macbeth Moments. This episode is called The Worst Rank of Manhood. In this series of videos, I like to take small moments from across the play and discuss the wider significance that they could play and analyse different meanings of those scenes. In this video, I'd like to zoom in and do some deep dive analysis on the section of Act 3 Scene 1 at the end, where Macbeth is trying to persuade the murderers to kill Banquo. In context, this exchange takes place right after he's just spoken with Banquo and invited him to the feast that evening, knowing full well that he has two murderers waiting in the wings, ready to come in so that he can persuade them to kill Banquo and Fleance that night. What I find most interesting about this scene is the fact that Macbeth is using very similar manipulation techniques that Lady Macbeth used on him in Act 1. He's trying to convince the murderers to want to kill Banquo for themselves, and he uses techniques such as rhetorical questions. So we see here that he says, "Do you find your patience so predominant in your nature that you can let this go?" This harks back to lines such as, "You are too full of the milk of human kindness," where Lady Macbeth is fearful that Macbeth does not have the strength or the rashness to carry out the deeds that he has to carry out. Here, Macbeth seems to be accusing them of being too patient and too forgiving. A stereotypical trait of masculinity in this era was taking swift and severe revenge, which he's trying to coax the murderers into doing. In the second half of this extract on the screen here, it says that Banquo has helped them to bow to their grave and has caused them to be beggars. There is a suggestion here that maybe these men have worked for Banquo, possibly they've been recently sacked by Banquo, and it seems like it seems like Banquo has caused them some sort of harm. Macbeth is clearly trying to stir up a grievance and make these men hate Banquo even more. Macbeth then goes on to say that they can only call themselves men in the basic category of their gender, but that they would be the worst rank of manhood if they do not agree to kill Banquo. The lines on the screen right now, you can see that he says to them, "Aye, in the catalogue you go for men, just as hounds, greyhounds, mongrels, spaniels, curs, etc. go for being dogs, and they have the name dogs." So he's saying, yes, you are technically men, but you're not showing any traits of men right now. This links back to some of Lady Macbeth's taunts in Act 1, such as, "When you durst do it, then you were a man, and to be more than what you were, you would be so much more the man." He really seems to have taken inspiration here from her persuasion strategies, and uses it now on them. Macbeth says to them at the end of this extract that if they don't speak up and convince him that they are not too patient and too forgiving, that he will class them as the worst rank of manhood. This really shows the audience how his own ideas of what a man should be like have changed so dramatically, even just across the space of 2 acts. I find it intriguing that Macbeth is trying to convince these assassins not just to do his bidding, as paid assassins normally do, or cutthroats would in this day and age, but he wants them to want to kill Banquo themselves for their own reasons. This makes me think, why? Why is he doing this? It's probably him trying to ease his own guilt. Banquo is of course his best friend, and killing a child, Fleance, can't be an easy thing to rest on one's conscience. It could also be him being a little bit Machiavellian and trying to play a bit more of a political game. He might be trying to set them up as an alibi to make them more culpable, so they would be the true murderers, and if anyone were to look into this crime, they would honestly think that these two men had such a grievance against Banquo that they themselves wanted to kill him. Linking out to wider themes, the first theme I'd like to talk about is gender roles. As I've just said, Macbeth is now trying to have other men conform to the same gender stereotypes that were recently expected of him by his wife, such as being violent and dauntless. These stereotypes of men would have been common both in the Jacobean era, when the play was written, and the medieval era, when the play was set. Lastly, I want to talk about the theme of guilt. Macbeth tries to ease his own guilt by convincing the murderers to kill Banquo for their own reasons. He spends many monologues across the play trying to convince himself and others that what he is doing is right, for example, before killing Duncan and after killing the guards. An audience can infer that he is wrestling with his conscience and that he knows that what he is doing is wrong, but he just doesn't want to stop doing it, which is, of course, the true sign of a villain or an anti-hero, that they know what they're doing is wrong and yet they still do it. We do see Macbeth, by the end of this play, seem to take on some sort of responsibility and face his guilt, and he is willing to be killed by Macduff as he knows that there is a price to be paid, which of course conforms to the conventions of tragedy, where the tragic hero must meet his demise or downfall. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it interesting. Do check out the other videos on my channel, and I hope you have a great day.